And during this time frame, he was still really committed to this idea of perpetuating the social realist form of art within illustration. What kind of images do you think that he's left that were germane really to that idea?
This is the image that we used on the cover of the catalog and the image that we used to basically promote this, the entire show. This painting is called The Night Shift on Broad Street, and it was part of an 8-page spread, basically an article depicting the construction of Philadelphia's subway system in 1926.
You know, William White was really sort of, he was creating with this kind of archetype of American workers with this imagery. He was using almost kind of a Baroque notion of the body, this really massive, this really almost sort of superhero figure, centrally positioned within the painting.
William White places his hero, you know, right on the proscenium of the stage, so to speak, pressed right on the plane of the picture, so that the viewer is really almost in the picture with the figure. And you know, the way he's standing there with his jackhammer and his cup of water is you know, almost evocative of Michelangelo and David. You know, I mean, he really kind of presents us with an iconic image of the American laborer. And he's also different from the other illustrators that Hercules hired, that the N.C. Wyeths and Gail Hoskins and those who were still doing historical illustrations for the most part, for their calendars and their publications and even their ads. So William White stands as different from those. Roughly 3/4 of the illustrations William White did depicted coal miners from the Pennsylvania anthracite fields, about 275 images. We have only located 4, and 3 of them are in this exhibition. In particular, the one titled Operating a Jackhammer was published in the very first issue of Explosives Engineer in March of 1923. And here White really captured, with his thick paint style, the rough-hewn, shiny walls of the coal mines, the cramped quarters that the miners worked in, the shallow light cast by their open flame carbide headlamps. So these were the paintings that actually got White the Phelps Dodge commissions. In 1923, the chairman of the Western operations of the Phelps Dodge Corporation, P.G. Beckett, hired William White to come out and document his copper mines out in Bisbee, Arizona. So when he was 27 years old, William White packs up his oil paints and heads to Bisbee, which at the time was the largest city in the United States between St. Louis and San Francisco. It was a booming mining town with 40 mines operating 24/7. So William White actually captures in this series 3 different mines for Phelps Dodge. And he uses a different palette for each mine. He uses kind of warm browns and reds, you know, for the Copper Queen mine. He uses hot pinks and lavenders for the Sacramento open pit mine. And he uses kind of greens and blues and creamy whites for Pilares de Nacazari mine in northern Mexico. But what I really want to talk about is how he depicts his subjects and how he applies paint. So maybe you'd like to comment on that.
Well, you know, it seems to me that he's been using a lot of impasto, like a very thick application of paint, so that he has this really sort of dramatic, very quick application of paint. It gives the images a real sense of immediacy, as if they were painted on site at that moment, trying to sketch something in a very, very sort of hurried manner. What sort of appeals to me about these pictures is so much like what we had seen earlier with our signature image of the show, he really is elevating the status of these miners. He's looking past their ethnicities, he's looking past their sort of, their place within the sort of industry in which they're working, and he's really talking about their souls. He's really talking about the laborer as being next to God almost, in that he really is trying to emphasize how important these figures are within society by depicting them so beautifully within these paintings.
And what you see here is William White is really, again, he's really coming in, he's cropping in closely on these pictures. You can see that in many of these, the heads are cropped, they're very tight in the picture, and he's presenting them as you say, as heroic, iconic, almost religious, especially this picture here titled In Sacramento Pit, with the halo around the guy's head. I mean, it really looks like it should be hanging in a church.